having arguments as a couple is normal, and something that you kind of talk about on your social media channels is like, I think people sometimes put out this idealist version of their relationship that we see. Like they show the best pictures, they show the best TikToks of them just being the most in love. But actually behind the scenes that we don't see is actually it's not that. What I've loved about your refreshing content is like being very real about that. And I think kind of shows like how relationships are not always easy. And I think that talking about that breaks the stereotype of like, oh no, it's perfect. I love him all the time. He's literally the best.
Yeah, for sure. And I think every couple is like getting in arguments. That's the reality of it. You're never like not going to have an off week or a fight. And Max and I recently went on like a 2-night staycation because I felt like we haven't been spending enough like quality time together. He's like, what do you mean? Every night we're both home. I'm like, but you're watching one show and I'm watching another. So that does not count to me. I'm like, we need to be doing the same thing. So I felt like I kind of like kidnapped him and was like, we're going to go on this vacation. And then we got in like a really big argument like during the Saturday, which is like, you go the night before, this is your one big day, and then you go home. So obviously that was like so defeating because you're like, I just want us to be like having so much fun right now. I think also when you go on vacation with your partner, there is this pressure of like, okay, this is just going to be perfect. And yeah, we got in an argument, like it it's so layered, but it was triggered by me really thinking this is all about us. And he took a quick work call in the morning, which I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then it's like minute 5, minute 10. I'm giving him the eyes of like, why are you taking a phone call? And he's giving me the eyes of it's a 10-minute call. Like you were on your phone, whatever it is. And that kind of started the dialogue. And then it, became this bigger thing about also not communicating. Like, for me to say to him, hey, today is really important to me. I have a schedule in my mind of how it's going to go. And you taking a call is not in my mental itinerary. And then he's like, what do you mean? We just had this beautiful breakfast together. We're about to play pickleball. Like, why can't I take this call? So that was what triggered it, to be super transparent. And then, yeah, I wasn't going to post about it on social media because I actually thought he was going to be the one that didn't want me to share that. And then when I sent him like the post I was planning to post, he was like, you could say that we got in a fight. And I was like, okay. Because I always love when I can add that real element because like you said, like Ilona, that is the truth. And yeah, I think just being open about it. And now I feel like we're so connected and we're so in flow because we like popped the bubble. You need to pop the bubble when it comes.
What does that mean? Or like, is that how you guys, navigate a fight? Or what does that look like for you?
I feel like we try to not let things fester. So like, if it's pinching you or if you were upset by something and then you just like brushed through it. We actually have this analogy of like, that messy chair in your room. And it's like when you're in a relationship and someone annoys you, you can either like both do the laundry, fold it and put it back in the drawer, or you can throw it on the chair and be like, I'll deal with it another day, or I'm annoyed. So I think sometimes when you're just so busy with work and life, the chair starts piling up. And then before you know it, you have so many shirts, so many pants, so many socks. And I feel like that's like what happened to us. And we're human. Like Max is so sweet. He's always like, we got to give ourselves grace, cut ourselves slack. You've been busy, I've been busy. But, it was a good reset so that now, actually the other day, coming out of the fight, one of our big revelations was he lets a lot brush over his shoulders. And then when I go to him with something, that's when he like brings in all of his baggage too. And I'm like, that's not fair. I literally explained to him, I'm like, it's like we're in court and I have called the court to prove that there's paint on the wall. And so if you bring up something else, it's like, Your Honor, hearsay. Like, we're here to prove paint's on the wall. So I gave him that analogy of like, if I'm calling the meeting, although I should be more open, I'm stubborn, I'm a Taurus. It's very hard for my ego not to tunnel vision on the argument that I've brought to the table. So I've been encouraging him, instead of like letting those things build up, like, I want you to tell me when I do something that annoys you. And then we're both like laughing because he knows he doesn't do it. He's scared. And I'm like, but I need to be better at receiving. So we love Survivor. So just to kind of lighten the mood, I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to need a warning when you're going to come to give me some criticism because my ego's working on the fact that I'm not a perfect wife. So I was like, if you could just do something to let me know we're about to enter a space where I'm going to be criticized, I think it would help me be able to receive it. And so he was like, okay, what if I say I'm going to call like tribal council? And I was like, perfect.
Well, once again, a lively tribal. Is there anything left unsaid?
So yesterday he like called tribal council and I was like, okay. And I like held my palms open because I'm like, I need to receive. And he basically just, it was something about 4th of July. He's like, when I brought up this plan, you immediately shot it down and said, but what am I going to do? And I want you to know I'm thinking of you. I'm not going to abandon you on a holiday weekend. You know, and I was like, you're right. My first remark wasn't fair to you. So I mean, that's like TMI, but I am TMI kind of gal. So ask and you'll receive.
Right. And there's definitely a vulnerableness, if that's the right word, about your content too. Cause like, yeah, I mean, you're sharing it so much. Does it also help you in a way to share all that? Because I know that it helps so many other people when they see it. But I also found kind of even sharing my body positive stuff kind of helps me in a way, like putting it out there.
Definitely. I think you feel the weight off your shoulder because you're living authentically and like living with your heart on your sleeve. And I found that once I found how to be vulnerable and seek help and work on myself and then know what it's like to just live and be myself 100% of the time, you don't like ever want to go back. You just want to be transparent. My family, we're Greek, so we would call it like it is all the time. So I'm not a like sweep it under the rug kind of girl. So yeah, it definitely helps me, but I've certainly learned how to create some of my own little boundaries where like I don't go to Instagram to say I had a negative body image day that day, or I don't say we had a fight the day we had the fight. It's usually like 2 or 3 days later when I feel confident and like I'm good in my own life because as you know, you're going to get a bunch of comments. Some might not be supportive. They might be critical. And I don't want to be in a state where my wound is open when the world gives their opinion. So I like to be like 3 steps ahead of the thing and then I share it.
I think that can be applied to so much. Like I remember growing up, if I would ever get mad at a friend or my sisters, like my mom would always tell us, like, don't do anything right now, like sleep on it just because you're feeling so raw and that your reaction is going to change in a few days. So I don't think of myself when I'm in that moment of like, that's my true self. I'm like, this is me at like a heightened experience. Like I gotta let myself simmer down. And I think and especially when others are going to comment on it, like tenfold, like let yourself simmer down before you openly, like willingly face all this like criticism or just comments.
But then it's so great how vocal you are about like that you give yourself that time, but that doesn't mean like we're not fighting and everything's perfect. Like I swear I've just been able to ground myself in what's actually important and now I can bring it to my audience. So I think that they probably really both appreciate your realness, but then that you are also honest about like, I've taken my time. I know where my head's at, but people fight. This is how it works. That's just like love and you work together to make it better.
Yeah. And Adriana, I think you bring up a great point about like the space because I used to think, never go to bed angry meant like always solve it the day that it happens. But sometimes you need time. Like I remember one time Max and I were in an argument and I was like, I'm just going to go get our groceries like I was planning to. And then when I come home, we'll finish because I was like, I need an hour to like cool off and breathe and put myself in his shoes. So I think, for people out there, yeah, whether it's your best friend, your parents, or a relationship, it's super powerful to sleep on it and take a day and then make sure you're coming at it like as your best self. I feel like sometimes I'll say, I can't be the best version of myself right now. So I need like an hour.